Where'd you leave the car keys? Mom? God damn you. What's up, bitches? It's time to drink your goddamn coconut tea. We're back with episode 2 of Our Life, Beginnings and Always. I enjoyed my first day of playing this so much that I went out and purchased the 2 DLC packs that it has to offer. It's $8 for both, it's very affordable, and I read on their Patreon page they're planning on adding new love interests into the game. Right now it is just Cole. I don't know why I call him Cole, that's not his name, but he's sad and angsty and he has blue hair, and we're just gonna go with that. So today we're gonna have some more experiences. Hopefully we won't pop any more balloon dolphins, and let's jump right in. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient, waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly, a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside and telling everybody they're too busy to play. You know what? That is not an accurate observation, Lizzie, but whatever. We're gonna roll with it.
Why?
Yeah, Cove wants to know why. I said why, and it'll be fun. Duh. What do they do inside that we don't? Besides use the phone a lot. Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decided to ignore Cove. French fryers, what do you think? Do you want to? Still can't get over the fact that I named my character French Fryers, and sometimes I say French Fryers instead. I'm trying, alright? I'm trying. Okay, Cove said it. It doesn't sound fun. I bet we could come up with something else. I don't know. I want to. Yeah, I don't know that I want to be adults, but something makes me feel like you're gonna make me to anyway. So I bet we could come up with something else. Let's be creative children. But that's what I'm going to do. And it's not as fun when I play pretend adults by myself. Oh, well, it sucks for you then, don't it? Do you do that a lot? What's it to you? Looking at Lizzie, it seemed Cove felt he could understand where she was coming from, and he sighed. You really want to play French Fryers? It was clear he wanted some way out, but still felt guilty about it. I'll try, but it sounds boring. Okay, I'll say. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. Well, that's rude. You kept hesitating. Well, man. Like, I don't know. Lizzie's kind of bossy. What do I want to do? Okay. Yeah, okay, I'll stay. I hope this is as fun as you're promising it'll be. Lizzie looked at you, deadly serious. It's the most exciting idea I've had all week. Wow, you have a shortage of ideas there, girl. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together, and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. Okay, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. French fires, you and Cove can be, if you say caddies. If you say motherfucking caddies. Oh good, she didn't say caddies. A beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Oh, well, gymnast all the way. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yep. But there's other kinds of sports too. Oh, does he want to surf? Like he said on the beach? Maybe. It isn't the same. What do you think, French fires? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? Well, you know, just talk for me. I kind of like those. It really doesn't. Haha, it sounds like a blast. Isn't there anything else we can be? You nodded, and then maybe not. I'm gonna say, isn't there anything else we can be? Lizzie stomped a foot on the ground. Nope, come on. Just decide already. Yeah, she's not gonna let me choose anything I want to do. Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let this go anytime soon, she sighed. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it. He thought over the list of possibilities, beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play... I already answered that fucking question. I said gymnastics. If you couldn't spend the afternoon doing cartwheels and handstands in the backyard, then you might as well practice them inside. There wouldn't be as much space as there was outside, but you could still try. Yes, that was clearly the top option. I guess I'll be a gymnast. How about you, Cove? Cove's not happy. Yeah, I pick volleyball. Some junk. I should have known. Okay, so French fires, you're a famous gymnast, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team. Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics! Cove didn't seem at all impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific. That's what makes it fun! Anyway... Lizzie marched back and forth in front of us, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all gold medals, and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. I don't know who that is. Who is that? Someone enlighten me. Ah, see, Cove don't know either. We're in the same boat. Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals, too. Like, afterthought. Cove, your team was bronze, and French fires, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place, and like, I'm the best at everything, huh? Silver sucks! I don't want silver. I'm okay with that. Hey, we can do better than silver. Silver's not bad. Nice. You stayed silent. I mean, she's not gonna let me do anything so like, yeah, whatever, girl. You just go right along. Go do what you do. You shrugged your shoulders, agreeing with Lizzie. A silver medal was still really good in the Olympics. I'm not. Cove folded his arms across his chest, apparently not as happy as you were with the decision. Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. Who talks like that when they're young? Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So, what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm gonna live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like a normal house here on the street. On it. Right on the sand. By the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you would want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to. And I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if I can't imagine anything? Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her side. It's not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought you would prefer a mansion. Being on the beach was cooler. You wanted to agree with Lizzie. Cove was right. You were tired of deciding between either of them. Oh man, it's gotta be the last two. And I feel like I have to go with Cove is right, because my little me in episode 1 is like, look at all these shells that I found, and take this orange one, you motherfucker, quit crying. So I feel like we gotta go with that. Cove's idea is good. You shouldn't say yours is the only right one. No one asked for your opinion. Cove granted you a small nod, which was a rare amount of acknowledgement from him. You didn't think it was that it was a big deal. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. You can still swim anytime you want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. The two of them scowled at each other. You're being unreasonable. I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you'd say so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, French fries, it's time to get ready to go. Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mama said she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I could go by myself. But without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? I'm not gonna lie for you, girl. You're mean. They were fighting, Cove and Lizzie, for the whole time. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed, as Mom put both hands on her hips. Oh shit, it's down. It's on, son. Elizabeth? I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I loved the, like, first I was sad that I gave them both, like, the draw, but, like, she's got the southern sass going on there. I know, I tried, but he was no buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're gonna apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie's sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. All right, we better get a move on. Let's go, kids. Oh gosh, Noliani? I'm gonna go with Noliani. Where'd you leave the car keys? Mom, God damn you. Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but driver chooses the music and passenger shuts their cake hole. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. Picked my favorite song, chose a soundtrack to a cool movie, chose a song you knew Lizzie liked. No, soundtrack, that's me as a child. Eventually Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. She acted like she was grown up most of the time, but you knew she liked that movie too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. I don't know why I pictured her like, "Pinatas, bitches!" But like, that's how it went down in my brain. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it. So you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop. But you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to the neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips. Now then, Mr. Holden's car's in the driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good. Let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder and they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Yeah, I don't regret that at all, but let's read the other options. You felt guilty, like you'd betrayed your sister. You hadn't liked doing it, but had to. It was her fault for doing it in the first place. Oh! I'm not gonna blame her. I got no regrets, bitches. You frowned to yourself, recalling how Cove had left in such a bad way. Mom had told you to be on your best behavior with Cove, but Lizzie hadn't listened. She upset him more than usual, even. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number for Combs' house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and she began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. They got him on motherfucking speed dial? It's just under bra. It's like, oh, I need to call bra. Better get on that. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening. Holden residence, brah. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Mr. Holden, it's, Lizzie, can I talk to Cove? Lizzie Noisy Face? What a surprise! But of course you can say, hey, to the bra. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. No, Leonie, French fries, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. I should probably say hello. Like, hey! French fries in the house. The gang's all here, huh? Something the matter, bruh? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's gonna be okay. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove? A fight, brah? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when he came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight, brah, and like pretty much every night, 'cause, you know, my kid's kinda emo, brah. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyways, it's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time, I'll grab him for you, brah. There was... He's so fucking, like, nonchalant about everything. God damn. Ugh. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out, Cove! Someone on the phone for you, brah! After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, brah! Lizzie just called so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad. His voice there. Hi. Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away. I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Oh, you motherfucker. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by that demand. She couldn't understand why that mattered so much to him. All right, you win the gold. Okay, I guess. Sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms, while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really. Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though, brah. Bye, Lizzie. Like, bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up. All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it, brah. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Can I, go now, too? Sure, sweetie. Thank you so much for your apology to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone. Taking it off the speaker, they continued talking to Mr. Holden, but you couldn't tell what it was about. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. The long day. It was another scorching summer day. The kind where no sooner you had finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel probably pleased, because my sister's kind of conceited. Pleased, frustrated, nothing really. I'm going to say pleased. You might not be double digits like your sister, but he was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like a popsicle, an ice cream cone, or an ice cream sandwich. I'm gonna go with ice cream cone. Nothing beat a classic creamy scoop of ice cream on a day like this. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Pfft, pesky motherfucking shops. Is this communism? I sighed. I voiced my predicament out loud. I asked Shiloh for help. Well, Shiloh probably can't help me, so maybe I should be like, man, should sure go for some ice cream right now. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Yep, that's literally what I did. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good! We don't have anything like that in the house. And I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus a stray button. Oh, you motherfucker! You set the button aside and counted the coins into neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's not enough. I mean, it's a start. It is a start. Shiloh beamed at you. We're gonna need to find some more. Okay! The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless. Gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sand crumbs. But every so often, one of you would strike silver or bronze. and added to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 motherfucking buttons, bitches! Make it rain. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer, but you appreciated him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters, saying, I'm a big deal. You straightened up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we got enough. You could now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed on you. Oh my god, I can't read. Destination. Okay. The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you on to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get a treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream cone? Shiloh asked, as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. Went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? I would try to get something that they both wanted, because, that's the nice thing to do. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them! They're so good! You pressed further. What do you really like? Popsicles, ice creams? Which one is your favorite? Aw, it's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. Do you want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You lapped at the soft ice cream. Sweetness perked you up. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head. His voice is so teeny. He didn't want any after everything he did to help get it. That was weird. I accepted the offer. Tried to include. You hesitated. Tried to include. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. That's such a little kid mantra right there. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it. But you want it more than I do. And getting to play was a lot of fun already. So you can have it. That's more fair. You held it out to him. I want you to have some, even more than I want to finish it. So eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up. It's really good. Thank you. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened, even if he hated it. You knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. You figured it was his problem and didn't care. You scared of me. You thought that was kind of sad. Are we friends? God, these are hard options. Well, obviously I don't care because I'm concerned. I don't think he's scared of me. I do think it's kind of sad, but I kind of want to ask him if we're friends. Let's go there. Are we friends? Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Well, yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you even really friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously over your non-reaction. I'm sorry. You weren't sure how sorry he could be without knowing what he's even apologizing for, but you shook your head. You didn't do anything. It was true. Shiloh hadn't done something mean. He'd gone out of his way to make you happy. That didn't seem like it should be a bad thing. Yet it bothered you. I don't know if you like me. It doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody and you wouldn't care. No, I like you. I really, really like you, French Fires. I want to be friends. Alright, like whatever, bro. You smiled hesitantly at him, and his fidgeting ceased. Even though you weren't sure if you believed him, this was only making things worse. You decided that maybe there were all types of friends. Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently. It would have been alright. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears coming into Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, I offended Cove, took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble, carefully asked what happened. Well, I don't know what's going on. I don't think I should be a jokey jokester. I also don't think I should just jump to Cove's aid, because that kid cries like every time he loses a shoelace. So let's go with carefully asked about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? French Fires. I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out the condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them. But the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. Uh-huh, I was helping him. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No. I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
There you go. True facts, bro. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? Yeah. Caw-caw! I'd rather avoid them. You thought they deserved the worst, or I'll do it. I mean, like, we probably shouldn't. I would not do this as a child. I would just avoid them. That's where I'm gonna live. You looked at the— oh, why are you so mad, Cove? You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings, rich in years, but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation. Maybe they didn't. But that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay far away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. Chick, a chicken. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say, he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was just his normal face. What are you kids doing loitering outside my house? My best old man voice. That's as good as it gets. Or maybe he was always just in a terrible mood. Nothing. Nothing? He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone could ever commit. Nothing good, more like you get lost. It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from earlier tears, were wide, and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, with Shiloh immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's holler propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already laying on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents round here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting with Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. Fine, you thought. Still felt a little sad. It's always annoying. Yeah, like probably sad about it. You'd been hoping the two of you might have become closer, but you had to let go. He was happy where he was. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that, and it felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blankets of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca. This is strangely specific. Smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. I'm gonna go with dolphin so we can talk about balloons and my King Merryweather of Prince Folk. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin! Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. You motherfucker. He chuckled at your reaction. Sure he did. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting sands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. "Let's go to the beach." There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too, were too tired to argue, were happy to do what others wanted, objected to the plan. "Let's go to the beach." So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks, walked along the water's edge, and the waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean, like with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. God, you don't have to be so serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It would hurt the fish. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. This conversation's hella awkward. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Oh, party foul, girl. Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed up by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward. It's for having both of your moms. Well, it's okay. I'm like Lizzie and French fryers. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one and she's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad, me. Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. Joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. Well, that's just a terrible decision. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. Yes, wise, philosophical, noisy will tell you. Cove couldn't muster a response. You didn't think you truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming wave to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. I retaliate, bitches. You used your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back at your sister. You laughed as she sputtered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spit it out. Yuck. Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed cascading over his body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it, That's crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
Dumbo.
Way to go, Shiloh. You dummy. Offered it some help. You let it. Well, I mean, he's fine. He can probably get up by himself. Shiloh seemed fine. Maybe it might make him feel worse. But Lizzie didn't have the same idea and held her hand out to Shiloh. God damn it, Lizzie! Why you always gotta do everything better than I do? He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself up from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Oh, I'm sorry! What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident. Especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did, at least, like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made a journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as the cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting with Cove's dad. We're back. Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state of you, ranging from messy to soaked. Elizabeth, this is all that you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold gonna do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy. Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You been out making memories, brah? Glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that he hadn't gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset, brah. Be a real bummer. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Not a brah. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble. Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Oh, his name is Cliff? I did not see. You know what? His name is Brah. Night, Noisy Face family. Shiloh too, brah. Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody's inside. I want you to march straight downstairs to the bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Till you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go into your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. Felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Mrs. Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed clean-up session. At least, that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad, and there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea.